We'll give you a flavor of this slide. It's something you can definitely look at. These are a number of hot topics that are happening in the world of SUV processing. We'll pick out a couple ones that are really hot these days. We saw a flurry of work permit refusals, and individuals came to us suggesting that they were asked to produce a brand new, fresh letter of support to apply for a work permit. And the reality is it's not required. And in fact, it was confirmed by the designated service channel 2 recently that it's not required, but unfortunately there are officers that are asking for this information. And so what's important here, and I'll just kind of loop in the issue of dual intent. We also see a very common refusal ground on work permits where the officer is concerned that the individual will not return after they arrive in Canada, notwithstanding that it's a PR program and the intention is ultimately to get PR, and there is case law on point. But in both of these situations, the message here is when you prepare an SUV work permit, you have to anticipate that the audience needs guidance, and where you can integrate policy and directives as well as case law. We do that in our applications and provide a guidance for the officer so that it's more likely that they'll be able to make sense of the process. Hopefully, when these new regulations are released, there could be more clarity, so it's not necessary, but this is what we've done through experience to make sure that we have the best chance of success. But you may very well get a letter like that, and the entities often won't issue a new letter of support because they issued the certificate previously, and that's when the letter of support's issued, and that's not normally their process. It creates some confusion. So just know if that comes up, it's not a hard stop. There's a way to deal with that, and we can definitely help you with that. Pushkar and Alif, why don't you pick one or two of these that you want to comment on, and then we'll get into the best practices. If there's anything hot topics you want to touch.
I want to actually discuss transmission errors on certificates. That's one of the cases, one of the many cases that we've been litigating before federal court. Unfortunately, what has transpired, some designated entities forgot to send the commitment certificate to IRCC. Somehow within their departments, someone was tasked with sending the commitment certificate via email, and they forgot to send it. And what transpired from there is that a series of applications under the Startup Business Class program for that designated entity and the applicants started being refused. In some of the cases, we've challenged it before the federal court, explaining the circumstance. In other cases, we've tried to do reconsiderations, but it's very important to understand that the Startup Business Class program has a couple of different key players. One is a designated entity that will support you in your business, that has to incubate you. The other is, of course, you as an entrepreneur who has to keep making a progress of the business. The third is, your legal representative. You have to make sure that you have all three that are doing their job correctly, because sometimes for no fault of your own, the application may be refused. And once it's refused, then, it's a very important element that the Startup Business Class, the commitment certificate under the Startup Business Class is sent to the IRCC. If it's not sent, then the IRCC can refuse the application on that ground alone. We've seen a number of such cases before, and it's very unfortunate that these issues are rising, but we've been litigating these issues before the federal court, of the non-transmission of the commitment certificates. At times, an incorrect commitment certificate is sent, a draft version of the certificate which does not have all the information. So all of those aspects you have to consider to make sure that, sometimes the applications are refused not because of something you didn't do, but because of a third party who had to act on your behalf and did not complete the progress. So make sure you choose your designated entities carefully. And I think, that's my
Well, maybe I'll add on to your point. You are definitely in a relationship with whoever you pick to prepare your file or consult, if it's a business consultant or if it's your legal representative. So even inadequate due diligence, you present your case, but it's up to the entity to make sure that they've done their job. And I think that's what we're going to see. In fact, that's one of the questions going around right now from IRCC is, how do you do your due diligence? And wouldn't be surprised if they start establishing a standard for review. Be careful too if you're in the community and you're approached by a business consultant about being matched to a business, like that's a potential flag too. So be careful about the advice you get from third parties. And then we've touched a little bit, we do believe there'll be enhanced compliance. So you could expect more reach outs, whether it's inspections. We've had officers, IRCC officers call SUV applicants randomly and ask them very pointed questions. And, very shortly thereafter, procedural fairness letter gets issued. So the landing issue, we know that that's become a hot topic too. So generally, all of these issues, all the decisions you make, who's essential, who isn't essential, who you should add to your team, if you're going to change your business plan or update the business plan. We see guidance from the federal court. Hopefully you've all taken note of that once you file one application, you're locked in, you can't change that certificate. But these types of considerations you see on the screen, these are the things you need to think about to make sure you can navigate the SUV program. I want to make one comment. If you're genuinely committed to your business, you have a great idea, you're working hard, you're documenting, you got the right team, you don't have anything to worry about. People get through the program and they do very well in Canada. It's where you miss one of the key partners in this process where you can run into trouble.